What if the people you trust most, your own family, were the very ones hiding the darkest secrets? And what if a simple dinner was just the cover for murder? It was supposed to be a joyful evening. Laughter echoed through the white-paneled home.
On Elmwood Drive in Charlotte, North Carolina, a mother had spent the whole day preparing a roast.
The father poured wine with a proud smile. Their adult children arrived with spouses and kids,
dressed nicely for what had become a cherished tradition, Sunday dinner at the Harpers. But by midnight, 2 people were dead, 1 was missing, and the Harpers' once pristine dining room was now a crime scene, a bloody one. Neighbors described screams so chilling, it didn't sound human.
Police arrived to a scene straight out of a nightmare, and a family torn apart by lies, jealousy, and betrayal so deep it exploded in violence. This is the true story of a family dinner that ended in cold-blooded murder and the twisted truth that came unraveling. Piece by horrifying piece, the Harper family was picture perfect, or at least, that's what everyone thought. Richard Harper, 58, was a respected real estate developer, known in the community as the kind of man who paid for strangers' groceries
when they were short.
His wife, Denise, 55, was the sweet Sunday school teacher who baked cookies for the neighborhood kids. Their 3 children, Eli, 30, Madison, 27, and Caroline, 24, had all grown up in that house. Eli was now a successful financial analyst.
Madison was married and expecting her 2nd child. Caroline, the youngest, was the artistic dreamer, still trying to find her place. Sunday dinners were sacred,
a way to stay connected in a world pulling families apart. But behind the wine glasses and laughter, tension brewed. Caroline had recently returned home after a mental health break in California.
Rumors swirled of substance abuse, erratic behavior, and even a brief hospitalization.
Madison had grown distant, insisting her pregnancy and workload made visits difficult.
Eli, the golden child, seemed cold, often checking his phone at the table, disengaged. And Richard, he drank more. Denise looked tired. Then came Sunday, March 10th. A dinner that was supposed to bring them all together would rip them apart. 12 p.m. 911 call, please. They're not moving.
There's blood, my dad. Oh God, he's not
breathing. The voice was frantic, female, and shaking. It was Madison. When police arrived, they found the dining room in chaos.
Plates shattered.
Wine spilled across the table and floor.
Eli lay slumped back in his chair, stabbed multiple times in the chest. Denise Harper was found in the kitchen, strangled with a dish towel, bruises covering her arms. Richard was unconscious but alive, suffering blunt force trauma to the head. Caroline was missing. The first theory,
a home invasion gone wrong, but there were no signs of forced entry. Nothing was stolen, no broken windows,
no footprints outside. Instead, the inconsistencies began piling up. Madison's hands had small cuts, yet she claimed she never left the dining room. Richard's blood alcohol level was nearly 3 times the legal limit, but family insisted he only had 1 glass of wine. The murder weapon,
a steak knife from the Harper's own kitchen drawer. Caroline's phone was found tossed behind the couch, wiped clean when detectives searched Caroline's bedroom. They found something deeply disturbing, a journal, pages filled with unfiltered thoughts, paranoia, and resentment.
But one entry, dated 2 weeks prior, chilled even the seasoned investigators. I can't pretend anymore. They've all lied to me.
I am the only one who sees the truth. Someday they'll pay. Was Caroline planning something?
Was she the killer or another victim?
It took weeks to piece together the fractured puzzle of that night.
And what investigators uncovered shocked even the most cynical crime reporters. The Harper family was not as perfect as they seemed. Richard, the respected businessman, he had a second phone filled with text messages to a woman nearly half his age. An affair, one Caroline had discovered and confronted him about weeks before the dinner. Denise, the doting mother, she'd quietly emptied a savings account into
Caroline's name, trying to help her escape the toxic family dynamic.
Madison and Eli didn't know. Eli, the successful analyst, he had pressured Caroline to sign away rights to a $200,000 inheritance left by their grandfather. Records showed he'd used the money to cover major gambling debts. And Madison,
she kept a secret from everyone. Caroline had confided in her
years ago about a sexual assault one allegedly committed by a family friend. Madison told her to stay quiet. It would destroy Dad's reputation, she had said. Caroline had lived for years in the shadows of that trauma, betrayal,
and the weight of keeping the Harper secret family image intact. Then she cracked. But here's the twist. Caroline didn't kill anyone. Surveillance footage from a neighbor's ring camera showed her running from the house barefoot at exactly 9:03
p.m. before the murders occurred. So who did it? The investigation turned back to Madison. Her cuts, defensive wounds, but there was no blood on her clothes.
Her story didn't match the timeline. Then forensic teams analyzed her husband's SUV and
Found blood traces in the back seat.
Eli's blood. Madison had tried to clean it up.
But under UV light, the story unfolded. Madison's murder confession came in a quiet room, under fluorescent lights, with a glass of water untouched beside her. Madison broke down. She had grown, increasingly resentful of Eli's manipulation of family finances and furious that Caroline was finally standing up to him. She feared Caroline would go public about the family's secrets, destroying everything. Her breaking point, finding out her parents were planning to leave the estate to Caroline to help with her recovery. That night, Eli had taunted Caroline at the table, calling her the family embarrassment. Madison snapped. After Caroline fled in tears, she followed Eli to the kitchen and stabbed him. When Denise tried to intervene, Madison strangled her. She claimed it was rage, impulse,
but prosecutors argued it was planned, cold,
premeditated. Richard, struck in the chaos, suffered a seizure but survived. Caroline was found 12 hours later in a wooded area, barely coherent, shivering and in shock. She had fled barefoot, believing no one would believe her innocence. She was right to be afraid, but justice came. Madison Harper was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder.
She received 2 consecutive life sentences without parole during the trial. Caroline took the stand.
With trembling hands, she read a statement. I grew up thinking love meant staying quiet. I thought protecting my family meant betraying myself. But I now know the truth
is louder than silence. The courtroom wept. Richard Harper, now partially paralyzed, sold the house on Elmwood Drive. He moved in with his sister in Maine, where he lives a quiet life. Caroline?
She legally changed her name. She now speaks publicly on mental health, trauma, and family violence. Her viral text talk, titled The Dinner That Changed Everything, has over 12 million views. How do you heal from a dinner that ended in murder?
With time, with truth,
and with justice served, because in the end, the family that looked perfect from the outside was harboring a storm within, and one dinner was all it took for everything to shatter forever.